I'm Rolf. I was the guitarist and singer in Wash back in the day.
I'm Courtney. I don't think I sang. I think I definitely play guitar.
You would play with diverse bands and have this camaraderie, so we'd all take care of each other, and even if you didn't really like the other band, you'd still support them because there was only a few of us, like doing it at the time and getting into it. There was a guy called Ian McIntyre who's still involved with a lot of music in the East Coast. He kind of championed Wash and gave us a lot of gigs. He met a lot of people throughout Manic Pizza and all different genres too, because we were probably one of the few shoegaze bands in Perth at the time, if not the only one. So you'd play with punk bands, you'd play with rock and roll bands, all sorts of people. And everybody was pretty welcoming and friendly from memory. Probably for me, seeing Month of Sundays, Rainyard, were big influences on me. They were kind of that winkle picker, pre-shoegaze type band, sort of progressed on from the Stems, I'd say, and was a bit more poppy and ethereal and dreamy.
Yeah, I remember we played a gig with Kim Williams' band. It was the Some Loves, I think.
Summer Suns.
Summer Suns, so, Summer Suns, and when I joined the band, I think I'd just turned 18, so I actually hadn't been to a lot of gigs. These were the first gigs I'd kind of been to. I'd been to, snuck out for a few, but I'd really just started.
And you were getting guitar lessons off Kev from Pink Fluffy Bunnies as well, which is a band we played with.
Yeah, that's right. My first gig, I think we supported Pink Fluffy Bunnies and the Fiends.
Yeah.
And you'd play in some strange places. I mean, there were some regular places we played gigs, and in the city had a good set of venues, but sometimes there'd be some strange. There was one out at Stirling Highway, which I think might have been the Coronado.
It was.
I think we got banned from that for being too loud.
Yeah. The sound guys didn't like us much because shoegaze wasn't a brand new thing, and to a sound guy, like distortion and like dissonance is not right. They're like, what are you doing? Like, we've got to turn this down. It's like, no, turn it up, And I had this amazing little DOD pedal, that little yellow box I had with the two.
Yeah.
And you hit the second pedal, and that's when you get that sound you hear on the tape. Yeah. So it's a lot of
frustrated sound guys.
Yeah, frustrated sound guys. And one of the older guys in the band told me to be nice to them and to buy them a beer. And I remember doing that, and we ended up getting pretty good sounding shows after that. There was a record store, Black and Blue, in Fremantle. He would get stuff in for me, so I started with Dinosaur Jr. and kind of that early sub pop stuff. And then through that, I found, I guess a lot of the English stuff, but Stone Roses were big. And through Stone Roses, then an NME magazine, a Melody Maker, which we'd get at Dada's, that'd sell it. You just trawl reviews and stuff, and then I found Pale Saints, Lush, Ride, who else? Other bands from that time that they were.
I remember Chapter House, Slow Dive. I remember Ride put out a couple of EPs. I think there was something about the one word four-letter band, and I think we kind of Ride had put their stuff out, and Wash had that sort of sound. So there was kind of like a association there as well. But yeah, we were listening to a lot of Sonic Youth and
a lot of Sonic Youth and also Mark, who was in the band. I mean, at the time, again, I might be wrong, but was reported to have every Creation Records release, and so he would throw stuff at us and go, "Look, listen to this, listen to this." So Mark was a big influence on the band and us. Yeah. Yep. I was listening to Ride and all these bands, and I started out playing drums, and parents said, no, too noisy. So I went to the bass because that was the rhythm section. Did that. I should say, Jesus and Mary Chain was huge for me. They were massive. And so I found Jesus and Mary Chain, and much like the Ramones, it was like, oh, wow, this is 3-chord songs, like bar chords, I can work this out. And started learning that sort of stuff and thought, I want to start a band. So I put an ad up in House of Wax, which at the time was at the top of Centreway Arcade, and put an ad up. looking for a bass player and a drummer, and Alan Matthews, the bass player of Wash, was the first guy to hit me up. And so we met, and we were talking to Courtney about this before. We had this little spot in the city, His Majesty's Theatre. Don't know if they still do, have a bar downstairs. So we just go there and drink all day, and then go to the Firm nightclub, which was part of the old Melbourne, which was a very integral part of us and our playing. But we didn't really ever play, we'd just drink and talk about it. And so Alan and I were walking around one day, and we ran into Cameron from Manic Pizza, Cameron Potts, drummer, and Mark Lillypie from Thou Gideon. And we were like, yeah, we've got a band, and like just talking it up. And they were like, well, we've got a gig tonight, we need someone, like, see you there at 7. And they walked off, and we're like, oh shit. Because I don't think we'd even jammed. So like,
did you have a drummer?
No, because Cameron was a drummer for Manic Pizza, and he said, and that's what I said, oh, we don't have a drummer. And he goes, I'll drum for you. See ya. And I was like, oh, okay. So Alan and I went back to Alan's house straight away, and I had a couple of songs and showed those to him. They were pretty simple, worked those out. We did a Jesus and Mary Chain cover, and possibly Mildred Pierce from Sonic Youth, and then just like freak out noise bits. Went to the gig that night, pulled it off. Mark, our drummer from Wash, was there, or someone who knew Mark said, check out these guys. And I don't even really remember, but then Mark was part of it. And he was a good motivational force, because again, Alan and I just would drink and just like fantasize about stuff and not do anything, where he's like, let's go. And like Courtney said, pretty quickly we wanted to fill out the sound, because we were getting pretty influenced by Sub Pop at the time and wanting to have a big fat, more heavier sound, probably moving away from shoegaze a bit. And even the recording we put out would kind of progress pretty quickly to a different sort of sound. Yeah. And then dissolved pretty quickly after that too. Yeah. That's the original cassette demo cover that John Scull did the artwork for. Good old Letraset. John knows all about that. I think he was studying graphic design at TAFE at the time. He's an architect now. Really talented guy. He was living on Lord Street, and we just knocked this up at the time. And probably should say Jason Ward. Sorry for the typo, Jason Wardo. It was Jason Ward. Thank you for recording us. And yeah. I thought it was like Burswoody, around that area maybe.
Yeah, industrial could be in Burswood, somewhere like an industrial sort of area.
It was, yeah.
A guy called Mark Ward.
Mark Ward. It might have been a TAFE thing, like much like you, was studying at TAFE, and we might have been part of the project. I'm not sure, because Mark had organised all that from memory. He knew Jason. We're on a pretty tight budget, and I remember on one of the songs I coughed before I was meant to sing, and I remember seeing everybody in the control room like, oh, but we kept rolling, and you can hear it on the tape. You hear this little, and then it kicks in with the song.
I don't remember a lot about the actual recording. I remember the cough. I remember that's on there, but I think Mark must have left the band pretty soon after that. So there was I think it was a bit of a change in. So we did the tape, and I remember we did this gig afterwards, and I think it might have been our first gig after putting the tape out, and you didn't want to play any songs on the tape. You wanted to play all the kind of new stuff. But yeah, I remember it was kind of having the tape was a kind of turning point, I think, in the band.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really good friends with Guy. At the time, the early 90s, all the goths and freaks would hang out in the post office steps in the city. You'd meet up there every Saturday, and that would, there was no social media, no mobile phones, so if you had to find someone, your mobile phone was the steps at the PO, and you just sit there and wait for your crew or whoever, and then you end up meeting people like Guy and all sorts of different people. And Guy was a big champion of us, and as you probably know, Guy, had his label, put out zines, and would always promote us, and to this day he's still helping us, and he plays on Triple R occasionally. He'll play Wash songs for us, and we'll play our songs on there. And yeah, that's how I knew him. I'm not sure about you.
Yeah, I I was at uni at the same time as Guy. I think we started together, but knew him through the band, and he was great. I a couple of really nice reviews, which was really good.
I was playing in another band called Benji with John Skull and Jamie from Wash. And we were definitely going in a more rockier, sub-poppy kind of direction. And I don't know, I think I had a bit of a freak out about the whole thing and got a bit stubborn, and like I was pretty perfectionist at the time. I'm not saying these guys weren't, but I was way too high, and I think I just lost my shit and went, no, I'm over this, and just walked away. But you could you might have a better memory.
Yeah, so I remember at the time, so we'd have these rehearsals in which we'd do a Wash and then a Benji rehearsal and stuff like that. So there was you were definitely moving. They were both going at the same time. I remember I think I pissed off to India for a couple of months or something like that, and then kind of came back, and I think it just the momentum we kind of lost momentum, I think.
Yeah.
We played that gig that we had the photo at the front of. We played I remember that being a pretty chaotic but really great gig, and I think they put on free drinks at like some point for 7 to 8, and free drinks if you pay the cover charge, basically. So the place was filled just with old drunk guys, basically, and so it was packed. It was kind of a nice chaotic energy, and I reckon we played that gig, and then after that it just went downhill. I don't think we played again.
Yeah.
But that was the gig that it was all the new stuff, and then it just kind of petered out after that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It did. Yeah. Went into the annals of history until now.
I don't think I've seen you since then. I think
probably not. Yeah. 30-something years.
Yeah.
Yeah. First time.
Yeah.
And we've lived in this area. It's just life changes, you know. No animosity or any beef or anything. Just Just
drifted off, did other things. So
yeah, I got back into skateboarding and those kind of things, and hip hop and punk music and still indie stuff, but not really playing as much, just in the scene. So yeah.
I got into Oasis. No, I didn't.
No.
Were you planning, in the theme of Oasis, were you planning a Wash reunion at any point soon?
State government will have to fund this, basically.
I'm open to it. It's not something that we've talked about, but Jamie's in town, around the corner. I'm in town. Courtney's in town. Bass players are a dime a dozen. No, I'm just kidding. But I think Alan's in overseas somewhere. But it would be fun. Yeah. Because a friend of mine who's in a band called 7 Hour Days, Steve Matskoff, he put the Bandcamp Wash up for us. We got hit up by a guy in the States who wants to release it on vinyl. So I've got to talk to Mark about that. Guy Blackman has a subsidiary label to Chapter where he is championing 90s bands that were like us, that were sort of fell to the wayside, no one really heard. So he's releasing stuff on that, and we're currently in contract negotiations. It's nothing like crazy. It's just so that everyone's happy with the contract, and hopefully he'll be re-releasing that. That might motivate us to do something. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Courtney and I were talking about this before, if we were still playing or not, and we both agreed. I guess it's been on and off, but mostly off. I'll get a guitar and play, and then I just sort of lose interest and get rid of it. I just bought a new one. I've got a bunch of songs and trying to set a goal at putting an EP out, sort of mid next year. We'll see how that goes. Again, I'm not even sure what kind of style it is, but it's still indie and a little bit shoegazy.
Yeah, I still play, but just to myself, basically. I've played in a couple of bands recently. I ended up doing a PhD and ended up in academia, and when I was doing my PhD, I taught myself kind of finger picking. So I like some of the sort of I don't know, alt folk sort of stuff, Jack Rose and John Fay, and nice kind of acoustic finger picking, and I'd probably play that more than anything else really, and I do it kind of to unwind. So that's pretty good. But yeah, not a lot in terms of nothing shoegaze anyway.
No, no.
No.